Today, the world stood still to pay last respect to Pope Francis, as hundreds of thousands of people gathered at the Vatican to bid farewell to Pope Francis during his funeral mass, as world leaders, Catholic faithful and non-Catholic, were present. What better way to show honor to a man who sought to build the church with open doors, prioritizing the poor and the marginalized in societies, and his tireless plea for peace across the world with famous statement, build bridges and not walls. For Nigeria, the quest for peace and stability has posed major concerns across diverse groups, especially in the wake of rising insecurity challenges in some parts of the country. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment in tackling insecurity in parts of the country where concerns are, with a firm resolve to eliminate security threats. Although some experts are calling for a deliberate and consistent community engagement by security forces. Well, in addressing security challenges in communities, they say you have to build trust to restore peace. They also say security is everybody's business. I'm sure you're familiar with that. While the federal government plays its role, how can citizens and communities work collectively to aid lasting peace and stability across the country? Tonight on Weekend File, we'll focus on ways of addressing insecurity through community efforts. And our guest is Garba Umar. He's an Assistant Inspector General of Police, retired, and he will be joining us from our Kaduna studio. Of course, we'll bring you situation reports from across the country. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguwele. First, let's bring you the news. It is an end of an era. Pope Francis lowered to Mother Earth, buried inside his favorite Rome church this Saturday after a befitting funeral mass at St. Peter's Square. Chukunonso Wambweze reports that Nigerian delegation led by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, joined dozens of world leaders who attended the service.
After a journey through Rome, the coffin of the late Pope was brought to the Basilica of St. Mary Major, or Church of Santa Maria Maggiore, for burial. Hundreds of thousands of Catholic faithful crowded both St. Peter's Square and the streets of the Italian capital to bid farewell to the late pontiff. Pope Francis, who died on Monday, aged 88, was laid to rest during a 30-minute ceremony. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who, as Calamengo, is running the Vatican's day-to-day affairs until a new pope is elected, sprinkled the coffin with holy water after it was lowered into a tomb set inside an alcove. In his funeral homily delivered before thousands of mourners, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, Giovanni Battista Re, recalls Pope Francis' countless efforts for refugees, reminding all of Pope's call to build bridges and not walls. Dozens of world leaders and dignitaries, including Donald Trump, as well as French President Emmanuel Macron, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, was represented at the solemn event by a delegation led by President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. Chukunonso Wambweze, NTA News.
And to speak further, especially with Nigeria's high-level delegation represented at the funeral mass, we have joining us from Rome live the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Godswill Akpabio. Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigeria.
All right. Your Excellency, how would you say is, the significance of Nigeria's presence at such a global event?
Well, just like the composition of Nigeria in Africa and in the global community is very significant. Not only because of our numbers, because of our size, and because of the fact that Nigerians are very impactful wherever they are. And we have a very large followership of the Catholics, faithfuls across Nigeria. And wherever the world is, Nigeria must be there. You are aware that in the black communities in the world, It is believed that 1 out of every 4 black persons you see in the world is a Nigerian. And so if such a global event takes place and Nigeria is not there, it will look as if the black race is not there. So it was very significant. And President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's decision to send a high-powered delegation who was well applauded and accepted, and it was recognized highly by the Vatican.
All right, Your Excellency, I want to believe there was a message you delivered on behalf of Nigerians. Can you share with us what you shared?
Well, I think it's not different from the message the president sent out on the demise of His Holiness Pope Francis. I believe strongly it was a sealed envelope that I handed over to the papacy on behalf of Mr. President. But of course, it's nothing except outside regret and sadness over the loss of such a world leader, a man who preached peace, a man who sacrificed so much for others to live and be happy, a man who impacted so much on the world through his sacrificial life, and of course, a man who led such a great church and great faithful worldwide. So it's a sad loss, not only to Nigeria, but to the black race and to Africans all over the world. And Nigeria joins the papacy to mourn, and Nigeria joins the Vatican to mourn the death of Pope Francis. And I'm sure they were happy. In fact, surprisingly, the chief of protocol that received me yesterday is somebody who served in Maitama many years ago for 5 years. And he said Nigeria and Maitama remained strongly in his heart. And when I handed over to the acting head of the Vatican, the message from Mr. President, he was delighted. He said he was in Nigeria in 1986 to 1989. He served there for 3 years when he started his diplomatic mission for the Catholic nuncio. And I was impressed that all of them hold Nigeria in very high esteem, and they actually look forward to our presence, and they were indeed very happy.
Okay, Your Excellency, I'm sure this is one great event that united the world, but what lessons are there to derive, and what's your message to Nigerians?
Well, if you it's not just a great event to the world, but I think it was an event that shook the world. When you look at the Catholic Church is not just a church. The Vatican is also regarded as a state. So you have a head of state that died and was buried today. You also have a pontiff that headed this flock all over the world, well over 1.5 billion in number. And you have a man who died as a man today, the Pope, who was worth only $100, showing that yes, you cannot worship God in splendor, and that the best way to worship God is to worship God through self-sacrifice for others. So the message is very clear that Nigerians should love one another, and that poverty is not a crime, and that poverty could sometimes be a virtue of God, and that whatever you have, you should be able to share with your brothers and sisters. And above all, in this period of that Easter just ended, we coincided with the Salah. It's all about God. That yes, indeed, that love should transcend everything, because God so loved the world that He sent His only begotten Son to come and die in order to redeem mankind. And that is the period that you see the pontiff departing back to paradise, back to heaven, to go and join his Father. So the message is clear. The message is that of love. Nigerians should love one another. Nigerians should love their country. Nigerians should live sacrificial lives, and not to amass wealth for themselves, but rather to see to the benefit of others, to see that others also enjoy the things of the world. I think that's the main message.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Love and humility, of course, and sacrificial life that he left as a legacy. Thank you, President of the Senate. Thank you for your time, for joining us on Weekend File.
I thank you. And please, President, the Nigerians should also pray for their government. Nigerians should be proud of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nigerians should pray for him to succeed. His success is the success of Nigeria. And the world looks forward to Nigeria taking the lead in the black race. I thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you. Indeed, we'll continue to pray for our nation.
Thank you.
All right. And still speaking on the burial of the late pontiff, we have joining us all the way from Jalingo, the Archbishop of Catholic Church here in Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius K. Gama. He joins us via Zoom. Good evening, Most Reverend.
Good evening.
I'm sure you can hear me, but I can see you.
Yes, I hear you very clearly.
Oh,
can you hear
okay.
me too?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Archbishop. Okay, it's a very solemn day for Catholics all over the world, going by the burial of the late Pontiff today. What does this say, to the Catholic community, especially when we look at the legacy of late Pope Francis and the aspect of his humility, his simplicity? We saw his, he was buried in a very simple coffin. What does this say to us?
Yeah, it's the passing away of a great leader, a colossal moral leader, both in words and in action. A leader who says, love the poor, give the poor their dignity, the marginalized, the alienated and discriminated against. And he followed it with action. So this is Pope Francis. He was a man of peace and reached out to even areas where wars were going on. You saw how he brought the leaders of South Sudan to the Vatican, prayed with them and knelt in front of them, kissed their feet, begging them to stop the war. He emphasized peace and reconciliation. Then his acts of humility speak a lot to us, all of us, Christians and non-Christians, that we must be there for one another. He wrote a document called Fratelli Tutti. That is, we are all brothers. We all belong to the same family of humanity. All this unnecessary discrimination of ethnicity, religion, and so on, they create tension in the family that we should be. So Pope Francis was bent on eradicating these artificial barriers of religion and tribe and unhealthy politics. So we miss a man who was exemplary, a father, a teacher, a moral compass, and one who embraced everybody and showed that leadership is not about accumulating material wealth. It's about giving. He was always giving and giving to the poor. He was concerned with the downtrodden. Anything he had of a material nature, he devoted it to the poor. So our leaders should imitate that exemplary conduct.
Okay, Archbishop, there was also the aspect, his concern for refugees, migrants. We saw him held mass, at borders and all of that. And he was trying to build a reform. He started that reform where he wants to see priests, serve. What is the lesson for clergies of today and also leaders in the aspect of service?
Yes, service is absolute of the essence in our ministry. We are called to service, humble service, selfless service. That was what Pope Francis was teaching. And if you are a priest, it should be to serve the people of God. It's not a career. It's not where you accumulate material resources for yourself. If you are a leader, political leader, traditional leader, religious leader, it's not about accumulation of material wealth. It's not about self. It's about the people. The people should come first. And if we are able to distribute the resources we have equitably in this nation, nobody should be hungry. See the people that are dying of hunger and see the people that are struggling to get food and they die in the process. See those being killed, all because they are either quarreling for farmlands and all that. So I think equitable distribution is so important, and selfless giving as leaders and sharing what belongs to the people will bring about justice, will bring about peace.
Okay, Archbishop, just before we let you go, what's your message to Nigerians? Very briefly.
Nigerians, let this day be a day of reflection for us, a sober reflection, that we must not be pointing finger of blame at one another. We are good in doing that. The people at the lower class point at the those in authority, and those in authority point at those who are below there. They said, you are the cause of your affliction and suffering and all that. We are all guilty in one way or the other. We should just look inwards and say, what can I do as an individual Nigerian, as a follower, as a citizen, and as a leader? We can do something different. We can be selfless. We can we will be there for one another and make sure that nobody suffers unnecessarily.
Okay, thank you very much, Archbishop. We do appreciate your time on Weekend File and wish the Catholic community all the best.
Thank you for your concern and for amplifying the message of Pope Francis. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to other issues. Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for stronger international collaboration to advance Nigeria's Human Capital Development 2.0 strategy. He made the call while attending a virtual high-level roundtable on the sidelines of the 2025 World Bank IMF Spring Meetings. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Success of the HCD 2.0 hinges on data-driven, evidence-based interventions and sustained political will. Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirmed the commitment of the Tinubu administration to position human potential at the heart of national development. The HCD 2.0 program is designed to elevate Nigeria's human capital index and equip Nigeria to face both national and global challenges, including climate change and digital transformation. The Vice President pointed out that the meeting was necessitated by the urgency to invest in the Nigerian people and by the recognition that true national wealth is found not in natural resources, but in human potential.
The story of HCD 2.0 is a story that would have been told differently without each of you here. This is why we must stand together as partners and refuse to be held hostage by the accidents of history that have stalled the promise of this great nation. We are more than excited to compare notes with the rest of the world, and we are grateful to the World Bank and all stakeholders for sharing our ambition. 1 out of every 4 black men is a Nigerian, and by 2050, Nigeria will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth. Our population will reach 440 million.
The Nigerian Vice President also reaffirmed the administration's resolve to remain transparent and result-oriented to achieve measurable outcomes, calling on the World Bank and other development partners to support the availability of disaggregated state-level human capital index data to enable more targeted interventions.
We have the potential, but we need to translate those potentials into realities. We need your support. We need your partnership, a partnership that works on a pedestal of mutual respect and anchored on maturity and togetherness.
The World Bank representatives at the meeting committed to strengthening the bank's partnership with Nigeria to improve the country's human capital index and proposed senior-level stakeholders' engagement to identify optimal areas for technical support. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
In a related development, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adun, and Central Bank Governor Olayemi Kadoso have emphasized Nigeria's robust policy framework, combining fiscal and monetary measures to manage inflation and economic shocks effectively. Now, this forms highlights of the joint press briefing on Nigeria's participation at the 2025 IMF World Bank meeting happening in Washington, D.C. Lydia Sampson reports.
Global economic growth is slowing sharply to 2.3% in 2025, signaling a recessionary trend driven by escalating trade tensions, policy uncertainty, and financial market volatility. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adun, and the CBN Governor noted that Coordinated actions between fiscal authorities and the central bank have been critical in anchoring market expectations and maintaining investor confidence despite persistent global uncertainties.
Both at the World Bank and at the IMF at the highest levels, they have seen it fit to point out that Nigeria is on the right path in terms of its monetary policy, in terms of its fiscal policy.
Our delegation used the meetings as a platform to spotlight Nigeria's bold economic reforms and explore further measures to enhance macroeconomic stability, strengthen our financial system.
Cardoso unveiled the Nigerian Foreign Exchange Code aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability in the foreign exchange market. From Washington, D.C., Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And back home, it was a night steeped in history and elegance as United Bank for Africa celebrates 75 remarkable years at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja, bringing together industry leaders, policymakers and visionaries to reflect on a legacy that continues to shape Africa's financial landscape. Musa Abubakar reports.
It's a gathering of excellence and legacy, a night that paid tribute to UBA's remarkable journey from modest financial institution to a Pan-African powerhouse. Founded in 1949, UBA has evolved over the decades, navigating economic booms and busts and boundary-breaking innovations. With footprints in over 20 African countries and major financial capitals of the world, the bank has become a symbol of resilience and trust. The night was more than champagne and caviar. It was a reflection of impact, from finance and infrastructure to empowering youth through the Tony Elumelu Foundation. UBA's legacy was woven into every speech, every performance, and every applause.
To the entire immediate and extended UBA family, to the dream makers, to the doers, and to the defenders of the African promise, I wish you many more years of certain evolution.
We are celebrating UBA because those of you who founded and led UBA, when some of us were not born, did a great job. The foundation was laid long ago. Ours is just taking it further.
It is a call to renew our collective commitment to excellence, enterprise, and execution.
A night of sparkle, but even more substance as UBA turns 75. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
As the nation continues to strive to achieve peace and development, women traditional title holders are being urged to use the influence of their stools to contribute to the renewed hope agenda of the present administration. This formed part of messages to the association as it inaugurates its new leadership in Abuja. Deborah Bala Bubu reports.
These are the new executive members pledging allegiance to the association, their society and country.
I was so excited. I don't know how to explain or how to say it, but Alhamdulillah, everything went successful.
This will help them to get some recognition, to have some network with other women, to have voice, and now be able to work especially on issues that affect women in particular.
I haven't seen all dignitaries come in and all that. It was a very big success.
The Association of Women Traditional Title Holders of Nigeria is a union of traditional title holders out to set priorities and new approaches to the traditional rules, thereby bridging the gap between tradition and modernity.
So the role of our mothers is always to keep the family together. That same role is translated to their traditional title.
This association stands as a beacon
It reminds us of who we are and who we must continue to be.
Furthermore, your choices, your voices are vital in promoting peace.
I'm happy that it's going wider. We are having this here today, and the women are here in their numbers. I know there will be achievement in this organization.
Some members were recognized for adding value to the association and society in general. In Abuja, Deborah Balagubo, NTA News.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll start a conversation on addressing insecurity through community efforts. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. Tonight, we turn our spotlight on the power of community in tackling insecurity across Nigeria. As government forces continue their efforts, on one hand, citizens are also stepping up. We're hoping proving security well, at their own scale, meaning the assignment of protecting the nation is not just the work of the government alone, but a shared responsibility. Francis Pham has more for us.
Across Nigeria, insecurity has taken many forms, from banditry in the northwest to kidnappings in the southeast, other parts of the country, and insurgency in the northeast. But in the face of these challenges, communities are not standing idle. In Borno, Kaduna, and other states, local vigilante groups are working hand in hand with security agencies, providing intelligence and securing neighborhoods. In Lagos, Residents Association are reviving neighborhood watch programs, using mobile apps and WhatsApp groups to report suspicious activity in real time. Meanwhile, youth-led initiative in Plateau State organizing peace-building workshops to reduce communal tensions.
The issue of security is for all of us. All of us will have to come together. Everybody do have a role to play, particularly communities, those who have been living together for years and decades. I think time has come for us to say enough is enough.
As the nation continues to grapple with insecurity, this local efforts is a pointer that the journey to peace starts with everyone in the homes, neighborhoods, and communities. Francis Pham, NTA News.
Well, in Jos, critical stakeholders are calling for strong legislative support and empowerment of vigilante groups and security agencies in their effort to address insecurity in communities. Bilikisu Nuhu reports.
Plateau State in recent times has experienced a series of renewed attacks, resulting in the death of many and wanton destruction of property and livelihoods. The role of communities in addressing insecurity has become necessary, especially in the area of valuable information to security agencies and vigilance.
If the government can encourage communities to set up vigilante in villages with the assistance of armed forces and police, we will achieve great results.
At the state level, I have my state operations squad, which they are very well trained by the Nigerian army, which I know they are very good to go.
Critical stakeholders opine that government alone cannot fight the growing cases of insecurity, hence the need for all to assist in curbing the menace. In Jos, Bilikisu Nuhu, NTA News.
All right, let's bring in our guest. He joins us from our Kaduna Network studio. Garba Umar, he's the Assistant Inspector General of Police, retired. Thank you very much for joining us, AIG.
Me.
All right, if you want to assess the role communities play, especially in contributing their own quota, when we're talking addressing insecurity across communities, how would you assess so far?
As you are aware, community is a bridge between the citizen, groups, individuals, and government. And the first point of call is the community. Because when the community is united and they work together, they share information, they train their wards, their youth are incorporated into the governance of the community, surely will have a stronger community that will engage any threat from any angle, that will also benefit the community by acquiring more information that will lead to the fight against terrorism and any other form of crime. So for me, community is the first point of call, and they must be strengthened, they must be well protected, the government must look inward and ensuring that this community has all that is needed to transmit to the youth, to transmit to those who we think they are against the society.
In the aspect of equipping or rather strengthening the capacity of these communities, especially we have the vigilante groups and, you know, people who give this intelligence gathering, the role of state governments, even at the local levels, comes to play. What would you say is the synergy like, and how can state governments, you know, provide the support to communities because they are closer to the people?
Let me say this. Before we even talk about the role of the community or what they can do to other law enforcement or other vigilante groups that are being sponsored or that are being trained, the first thing we do is to think of radicalization of the youth. Before you bring in any aspect of security architecture, there must be a system in place, and that system will be the community, the leaders, the elders, the groups, individuals, you know, like just what I saw on the telly, you know, about the women. You know, we have traditional women leaders that come together. These are the kind of channels that they will pass on to the youth to radicalize their minds, to gear them towards the love and the protection of their community. But however, let's go further. We are talking about the vigilantes. Of course, the vigilantes, they have this, they must have collaboration between them and the society, between them and the leaders of the society, religious leaders, social leaders, you know, our men and women in the society, our politicians. They must have a way in which they can work together so that they can give enough information, intelligence information, to the vigilantes. And these vigilantes, we must make sure that they are guys that have the highest integrity rate. And they are people that they are not biased in carrying out their duties. And they are not particularly from one single ethnic group or entity. It must be the same community, regardless of ethnicity, religion, tribe, culture, and what have you. It has to be a vigilante group that has the mind of the society, the mind of the community. I love the way the National Security Advisor spoke this when he said, enough is enough. Of course, we agree with that. Enough is enough. But furthermore, where is that collaboration? Where is that sharing intelligence? Where is that opportunity to integrate the youth and show them the disadvantage of being on the other side of the society? These are some of the things that we must do. And I want you to know that we have over 350 borders in this country.
AIG, I can't get your signal, your sound rather, but let's take a break. When we come back, I'm sure we'll pick up with the conversation. Do stay tuned.
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected. My morning ritual starts here, surrounded by life-made furniture. From my wardrobe to my bed, Life-Made Furniture's whole house customization designs every piece to perfection. I love that in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Ibadan, and Kano, there's Life-Made Furniture.
For a whole house customization and furniture projects, call 081 2000 6000 or visit elifemade.com. LifeMade, your life made forever.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
My skin is my identity, my strength. It's unique and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care for your shade of beautiful.
TerraQ. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
We're live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge.
My people, today now.
Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better,
which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow. You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
"2025 flood prediction and the potential for negative impact across the country, particularly on food security, environment, life, and property. This is our conversation on NTA Tuesday Live on the 29th April 2025, plus the imperative for building nationwide support for gender quotas by all Nigerians to actualize inclusivity in the society. This and more on NTA Tuesday Live. Tuesday Live, every week at 10:30 p.m. It promises to be incisive and educative as usual. Join us.
Thank you for staying with us. Security intelligence gathering and effective collaboration amongst security formations and citizens, security experts say, remains the short way towards tackling the nation's security challenges. Well, these were some of the submissions of some residents of Makurdi. Moses Ajawu Ode reports.
Cases of insecurity ranging from banditry attacks, farmer-header clashes, insurgency and communal conflicts have continued unabated. It is to address this ugly development and restore normalcy, particularly in the local communities, that the people advocate the strengthening of community volunteer groups to complement efforts of conventional security formations.
Benue State should embrace security and forensic studies
so that they will dig deep into security issues and come out with workable solutions that will help to curb the menace.
Community members joining hands with the police can take us through various communities, and it makes it easy for us to go, fight these criminals that have come to terrorize us.
With the recent visit of the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, to the state, and the marching order by Mr. President to service chiefs, it is hoped that escalating tensions and killing will soon be a thing of the past. In Makudi, Moses Ajao, NTA News.
All right, AIG, going by that report we've seen from Makodi there, talking about, intelligence gathering and effective collaboration. You've also talked about a holistic approach of engaging the youths. But one critical aspect is the sustainability of ensuring that this community engagement and the support, the security forces are getting from communities is sustained. What strategy can be adopted?
You see, security is a concern for everyone. And I realize that our various arms of government, from the local government to the federal government, there is need to strengthen the local communities, especially the vigilantes, or forum for those who volunteers to protect communities. But however, going by what is happening, we cannot get to the root of the matter without first identifying the root cause of this problem. And what are the root causes of this problem? One, we must find a way in which, by all means necessary, leverage on what the government is doing by funding the local government, starting from the lower level, allowing the chairman of the local government to interface with religious leaders, community leaders, youths, and also look at the possibility of empowering the youths by giving them the necessary training so that they will be assimilated into the society. And this will give them the opportunity to view that they have a duty, a role in protecting their own community. If we allow them to be on the streets without job, without the knowledge of the importance of security, definitely we are opening a situation whereby these youths can be mobilized, can be recruited by the terrorists, so-called terrorists that we have around. When we always talk to our leaders to come forward to provide solution to this, they always complain we are not being incorporated by the authorities. So there is need for this society to be given the opportunity, leaders in the society, to be part of the strategy in the fight against terrorism and other heinous crime within that locality. And also, I have looked at some of the states in Nigeria. I can mention few. If you look at Kaduna State, I don't want to be, it's my state, but I've seen the way the government is marshalling and bringing leaders within that society to say, okay, you guys, you have to come on board, be part of the policy that will shape or tackle insecurity in our state. And I've seen that the National Security Advisor is moving from one state to another. And I've seen the leaders of the armed forces and the police and other law enforcement agencies doing the same. But however, I love the way we call community policing. You are aware of what we call the Safe School Project. This Safe School Project, being introduced by the Inspector General of Police, will go a long way in bringing all the community leaders, all the youths, to appreciate the importance of protecting their community. And don't forget, we have external forces. Where are those external forces? I told you that we have more than 350 borders, and because of this treaty of ECOWAS, walk in as a person, bring in goods as individuals, a lot of things are happening. There is need for us to review this treaty. There is need for us, for this international collaboration, there is need for us to have one-on-one with leaders of our neighboring countries. Because most of these guys that are called terrorists that come into our countries, recruit these youth that have no job, are the ones that are fomenting more problem for us and giving our law enforcement stressing their capability and capacity to perform. So there is need for us to review all this as a whole.
AIG, you've hit the nail on the head. More importantly, we want to see consistency in community engagement to ensure that support continues to thrive. Thank you very much for joining us on Weekend File.
For having me.
All right, let's ponder on what you can do for your country, especially in the aspect of security, as we take this break. Thank you for being there. Sports update is next, and Ayo Deji Makinde is set to give us all the details. Ayo, what's up?
Oh yeah, thanks, Ruth. Let's begin with the young who surely would grow, because Nigeria's under-17 female football team, the Flamingos, have qualified for the Women's World Cup in Morocco after holding Algeria to a goalless draw in Bleda, securing a 4-0 aggregate victory. The team held a commanding 4-0 first-leg advantage at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne 2 weeks ago. Nigeria is now one of 5 African representatives at the World Cup in Morocco from October 17 to November 8, 2025. 9 matches will be decided Sunday on match day 35 of the Nigeria Premier Football League as the domestic league nears its business end. Nasarawa United will welcome Heartland FC of Owerri to the Lafia City Stadium, as third place Ikorodu City are away to relegation-threatened Akwa United at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. Elsewhere, relegated Lobby Stars of Makudi travel to Ilorin as attack Kwara United, while Enugu Rangers and Eyimba square off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium. League leaders Remo Stars welcome Niger Tornadoes to Ikenne, Ogun State. Now, elsewhere, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has approved the appointment of members of the Interim Management Board for the IBB International Golf and Country Club Abuja, with Peter Deshi as chairman, while Yomi Oyelola serves as secretary. In a statement by Larry Olayinka, Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, other members of the Interim Management Board are Benga Elegbeleye, Nanwo, Manven, Ekanem Ekweme, Arabi Bello, Lawan Abuki, Okenadoze, Fred Otobo, and Julius Fadairu. By this appointment, members of the IBB Golf Club Interim Management Board are to assume duty with immediate effect, as Minister Wike urges them to work assiduously to reposition the IBB International Golf and Country Club as a foremost center in the country. President, Badminton Federation of Nigeria, Francis Obi, assures an improved and quality representation after he was elected into the Badminton World Federation Council. Obi looks forward to driving development initiatives and strengthening badminton's global reach over the next 4 years. He acknowledges the role of the National Sports Commission in its successful bid, with a rededication to continuous identification and nurturing of talents. Nigeria and Africa will be proud of at major international tournaments. Now let's leave Nigeria and quickly tell you that from the world of the English Premier League, Ipswich Town have been relegated from the league following a 3-0 defeat to Newcastle. The result, which is their 21st loss of the season, means the Tractor Boys remain in the 18th place and 15 points away from safety with only 4 games to go. Elsewhere, Fulham kept hopes alive of reaching Europe next season after Ryan Sessegons's stoppage time goal gave the Cottagers a dramatic 2-1 victory at already relegated Southampton. Meanwhile, in the early kickoff, Nicola Jackson's strike earned Chelsea a 1-0 victory over Everton. That's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Many thanks, Ayo. I'm sure. Okay, I'll leave it there so I don't start a debate. But that's Weekend File. Thank you for being part of it. I'm Ruth Aguilera.